Hi, folks. This is Mr. Wallace, driver's education instructor up in central New York, upstate New York. And I'm just answering questions about what the difference is between driver's ed and the 5 hour course. And the best way to do that is to share this information with you. So I'm going to go right to it. So let's take a look at, and I'm going to go all the way back to the beginning of my presentation, right? So we're looking at the differences between driver's ed and the 5 hour course here in New York State. So one of the first differences is the level of student commitment. Student commitment in driver's ed is profoundly more than it is in the 5 hour course, right? So for driver's ed in total, it's 48 hours of commitment. And it's going to be broken down, as you can see on the one side of the screen, right? With 24 hours of classroom instructional time, and then another 24 hours of in-car driving lesson experience, right? These are going to be broken down into a minimum of 16 lessons, right? So you'll have both the classroom time and then a driving time, usually just right before or right after that, so that it turns out to be 90 minutes of each per day, or in other words, 3 hours per day. Now, our driver's ed programs, depending on which school I'm talking about, you can run as much as 16 days straight, Saturday through Monday, all the way through, and we knock it out in around 2.5 weeks. These, by the way, are only provided here in New York State. It's only provided by high schools or colleges. So it's the only two entities that can offer driver's education. Now, if you look at the 5 hour course, well, first of all, it is typically offered by private driving schools. And the 5 hour course is kind of a misnomer because you can actually do it in a maximum or in a minimum of 4 hours, right? So if there's no breaks, instructors are allowed to go just 4 hours straight and just knock it out in 4. Okay. And there's no driving component in the 5 hour course. It is all classroom lecture experience. Okay, so where did they take place? Well, if we're talking about driver's ed, it's going to take place in a high school or a college. If it's a 5 hour course, it's going to be offered at one of the private driving schools' locations, or also offered online. It should be noted that for driver's ed, the physical setting will be in a classroom, and then the start and finishes for the driving lessons portion will start and finish at the site, at the school. Costs are going to be quite different, right? And so this could be an advantage or disadvantage, however you look at it. So for the 5 hour course, it's usually between $50 and $75. Okay, both either in person or or online. When we talk about driver's ed, the cost is going to vary significantly depending on time of year and also the school where you take it. There are a couple, although very, very few, places in New York State where you can kind of just walk in off the street as a high school student or a college student and sign up and take the course. Okay. And they are going to be like unsubsidized. It's going to be expensive. Usually it's only during the summers. Sometimes it might be during the school year. And it's sometimes offered that way through a BOCES, sometimes through a college, almost never through a high school. So during the summer, that's when driver's ed is kind of working at full bore. This is the time of year when a lot of students are doing driver's ed. And so the cost to somebody, whether that be the school district, whether it be the parents, or whether that be the BOCES that may be subsidizing, or the state that might be subsidizing it, usually the cost is really around like $800. Now, students usually, or parents usually, don't see that type of price tag during the summertime. They usually see something significantly less, and it's because it's subsidized by their home school district, or through the BOCES, or through state ed. So during the school year, they'll see it offered at a significantly, well, it's going to be more expensive for families, but on the other hand, it's really it's a cheaper version of the same course. Usually, we're looking at, if in the Utica area, around $400 per family for driver's ed during the school year. And we're talking about after school, right? So from around 3 p.m., oftentimes schools will run a program. We have several right here in the central New York area. I'm thinking New Hartford, I'm thinking my own district, Mount Markham. Cooperstown is considering this right now as we speak for an after school program. During the summers around here in central New York, it's usually BOCES that offers it. Again, New Hartford offers it during the summers free of charge to their students. I work for New Hartford BOCES, which offers it, and I teach it at Holland Patton, Remsen, and New York Mills, and that's at a super reduced price for those families, and so on. Right, so the price is going to vary significantly depending on where and when you take it. Okay. I guess it's important to note that driver's education, again, is always attached to a high school or a college, where it's a 5-hour course. That's a private company that offers it. Okay. When we talk about similarities, probably the biggest similarity between the two are these. One, that each results in a certificate of completion that will give you your ticket to, or your child's ticket to, taking the New York State DMV road test. Without this certificate of completion, your child will not be able to take the road test, and therefore will never move on to get their junior driver's license and then their full driver's license. Okay, so that's probably the biggest similarity. The second big similarity is that both driver's education and the 5-hour course cover the same material. The big difference is that driver's ed is 24 hours of classroom lecture time versus around 4 or 5 in the 5-hour pre-licensing course. And so there's a lot of extensions and a lot of group work that goes into, and a lot of other stuff that's introduced and practiced and covered in driver's ed that may not be the case in the 5-hour pre-licensing course. The 5-hour pre-licensing course, you can see the curriculum right over here in the box. This is prescribed by New York State DMV. It must be covered in that 5-hour pre-licensing course. And again, it is also covered and extended in driver's ed. So if we look at it, right, rules of the road, laws and consequences, impaired driving, distracted driving, drowsy driving, road rage, aggressive driving, how the graduation or the graduated driver licensing rules work, and restrictions on where and when people can drive with their permit and with their junior driver's license in New York State. And of course, the 5-hour course culminates with the ticket to the road test, which is the MV278 certificate of completion. And likewise, on the other side with driver's ed, it culminates with the MV285 ticket to the road test, right? That's the certificate of completion that you get there. Now, talking about the differences, well, in driver's ed, that MV285 certificate of completion, I'm in that box over there, results in some things that the 5-hour course certificate does not offer, right? So one being that student drivers at 17 years of age will get their full unrestricted driver's license. And that means that they can drive anywhere in New York State. So including New York City and Long Island, they can drive any time of day, including the evening times between 9 p.m. and 5 a.m. In any part of New York State. Again, there's also some other restrictions that are lifted. For example, that you will be able to drive, your child will be able to drive at 17 with a full driver's license. They'll be able to drive with more than one peer in the vehicle who is under the age of 21. They can drive to school functions. They can drive to work. They can drive in other states. So there's a lot of freedom that results from the MV285 from driver's ed. That will not be the case with a 5-hour course. Likewise, parents, you probably are thinking like about saving money. Probably your insurance company told you like this is how you can save money with your teen driver. is with driver's ed, you should expect to get at least a 10% savings from your car and your auto insurance. Now, if you are a family with multiple vehicles in your driveway and these vehicles are expensive, I'm talking having a worth of over a value of over $15,000 or more, so that, in your driveway, you may have something like 50 to 80 to more thousands of dollars, and you're paying for, for collision and so on for these cars, maybe gap insurance even. Driver's ed is going to save you a ton of money, right? It will pay itself off in its first year. And usually driver's ed will continue to, you'll be able to reap the benefits of those savings for the next 3 years, until your child moves off of your insurance, right? Likewise, if the child has their own insurance, and especially if they have an expensive vehicle, they're going to reap the benefits of that savings themselves. So just looking at everything else. So one of the other big differences is that the driver's ed program is 48 hours of instruction in total, right? And so we have the entire in-car instruction experience in driver's ed that you do not have in that 5-hour course. Likewise, all the lessons that I discussed in the 5-hour course are taught in the driver's ed program, but they're extended, right? So for example, impaired driving, that's going to be something that's going to last an entire 90 minutes. And your child is going to learn not just about the dangers of impaired driving, which they'll learn in the 5-hour course, but they're going to learn strategies and practice these strategies a bit on how to identify, not just within themselves, but also with their peers, and how to avoid not just getting behind the wheel, but getting in the car with someone who may be impaired, right, behind the wheel. And that's just one of many that they're going to learn about in an extensive type of way. All right, moving along. So how to register for each of these. So it's pretty simple. For the 5-hour course, you really just have to search for any driving school that offers a 5-hour course. You're going to have to decide whether you want to do it in person or you want to do it online. Both options are available, and then just go ahead and follow the website or the instructions for how to register. You can call me. We're planning on offering the 5-hour course starting on June 1st through our own driving school. But if you don't want to wait that long, go right ahead and contact someone else. It's absolutely fine. If you want to do driver's ed, the first place to look is in your own district. If your district does not offer driver's ed, and by the way, I always recommend that your child does driver's ed versus the 5-hour course. Why? Because your child is going to come out of driver's ed a much more competent driver, a more confident driver, a much more better defensive driver. And that's going to lead to just safer roads in the community, and safer roads in general result in savings for all of us with our insurance. It's just the right way to go. And I'll tell you, if they do it with me, they're going to love driver's ed. It is a lot of fun for our students. It is extremely rare to have a student who comes out of driver's ed with anything other than just a very, very positive experience. Now, if your own school district does not offer driver's ed, my recommendation is to contact your Board of Ed, and to you should be able to look up phone numbers, or to write or contact your district and talk to your Board of Ed members, attend a Board of Ed meeting, and tell them that you want driver's ed to be offered in your district, right? This is the best way to get driver's ed there for not just for your child that you're thinking about, but your other children who may be younger, or your niece or nephews. I think it's important for every school in New York State to offer a driver's ed program. If that's not a possibility in your district, then there's other possibilities as well, right? You can always contact me and see if our school district, Mount Markham, is accepting out-of-district students. We always have a waiting list every single course that we offer this. And I will do my best to get your child in. It really depends on the district's decision at that moment in time, whether or not they're going to allow out-of-district students. We have in the past. At present, we're not. We'll see what happens in the future for our district. One thing that should be noted, though, is if your district is one that subscribes to BOCES, then that's going to be usually offered during the summer and the summer only. If your district is not subscribing to BOCES, even if they're a member of that BOCES district, they will not be able to take driver's ed during the summer at one of the other component districts, right? So it's kind of important to understand that. The main thing being that your best bet is always to develop a conversation with your Board of Ed members and make your voice heard that you want driver's ed to be offered in your district, right? There are driver's ed instructors who are willing to work with your district and to provide that service. All right. I think that is all. Feel free to contact me if you have any questions. My telephone number is 315-557-8180. Please leave a message or you can text. And within 24 hours, I will be getting back to you on your questions. And I can also put them up here in the cloud as well. Thank you again, and looking forward to talking with you and working with your children soon. Have a wonderful day.